Good evening, adventurers, and welcome back to the maze. We want to welcome you back to this is going to be our long form version, Lost in the Maze, episode number 2. For those who didn't catch the first one, this is just kind of me and the apprentice sitting around, kind of talking about things that have caught our attention, things in the nerd community, comic books, movies, whatever we want to talk about. So we're going to jump right in because we've got a lot to get into tonight. First off, we're going to lead off with our 5E Friday night paid game that I am a dungeon master for. I travel for this game, and I travel pretty far for it, about an hour each way, but it is a lot of fun. This group has been together about 3 years now. Last night was kind of a shopping prep episode that took a really weird turn near the end. But we're not going to get into that here. We are doing a full write-up with photos and everything else that will be over on our website, mastersmaze.com. We will have a link in the description for you to go over and check that out. But we do want to talk about our friend our friend Indy, who's over at Old Mana Games. He's doing the TTRPG, well, it's a TCG game that we talked about previously. Steven's going to jump into that because that's
Yeah,
kind of his wheelhouse. So, Steven,
yeah,
take it away.
yeah. I found him on Instagram and talked to him for a little bit, and we did a community shout out for him just because I like the style of the cards and I like a lot of his philosophy around the way a card game should be designed and played. It's very
Right.
antithetical to a lot of the games that are popular now. It's kind of a reset. It's a hard reset to make a game simpler, but he really nails home the style. So Dad and I did a community shout out for him. We talked about him on an episode or two here, and he reached out to us, and he's a super nice guy. You know, of course, he was like sending us thanks and all kinds of props, but he also asked if we could help him work on. He's doing some literature. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, in the future, he might have a tabletop game. We have no. I mean, this guy seems like he wants to take this setting and go to the moon with it. So of course, Dad and I
Yeah.
were more than happy to help him out. So he sent us over a book over for one of the card archetypes called the war type, which is kind of the a card theme. He has entire lore wrapped around not only the characters but the world and also the
Right.
style of cards. So he sent us over the first one he's been working on. Dad and I are looking at it now. We're not ready to give too much feedback on that yet, but we're really happy to help him out. He seems like a great guy, and as we've said time and time again, this is the kind of thing that we're trying to cultivate with this project. This project was never about just getting Dad's name out there and getting recognized at conventions. This project is for cooperation and cultivation of geek and nerd culture at a smaller scale. A lot of these project. I mean, this Indy was genuinely appreciative that we even took the time to say the name of his card game on a video. So I mean, these
Right.
people are real people that are working 9 to 5 jobs, and he's in Germany. So when he's sending us these messages, it's like 2 in the morning. But he's just like, dude, I'm so thankful for you guys. Thank you. So I mean, again, this is just exactly why we do it. So really excited to give more news on that and to work with him and to give him feedback. But all credit goes to him. He's a great guy and he's working really, really hard. So if you haven't checked that stuff out, we have a shout out for it. We have links in multiple places. Give him a follow if you like card games. His Discord is a fun place too. So yeah, Old Mana, check it out. It's a really cool game.
Yeah, definitely give it a look. It's on our. We've got it shouted out on our Instagram page and on our webpage. So we'll have a link in the description for you as well, so you guys can take a look at it. Do want to give another shout out to our sponsor, our only sponsor, hopefully not the only one for much longer, W Energy. They were
WW.
kind enough to send us some shakers. Yeah, kind enough to send us some shakers and some of their product, which helps power us through these things when we're going on a long form podcast,
Oh yeah.
especially when we're recording late at night like we are now. But
I
anyway,
recommend
we're going to jump.
I recommend Orange Dreamsicle. That's what I'm having
I
now.
love the orange dreams.
And I just got a new one the other day, Galaxy Grenade, which if you've ever had a red Laffy Taffy when you were a kid, it tastes like that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing about W,
Okay.
no sugar, no artificial flavors or dyes, which is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
definitely check them out. Uh, they sponsored us early. I mean,
Yep.
I kind of shot a in the dark at them. So maybe they'll never sponsor us. Let me just try anyways. And they hit us back like
Yeah.
same day. So appreciate them. I'm really bad about giving them shout outs. So I'm trying to be better. they've been awesome, keeping us energized, keeping us in the fight. So thanks, Debbie.
Yep. And we will have a link for them in the description as well. Also, we will give you the special code that you can use if you order with our code, Master Amazes. It will give you a discount over there, so you can try
Mm-hmm.
them at a discounted rate.
Oh
So
yeah.
give them a look. But other than that, we're going to jump right into our RPG news. We've got a lot going on. There's some more movement over at Wizards of the Coast. A lot of things have been happening over there. You almost need a scorecard to keep up with everything, but they've now hired John Hight, formerly of Blizzard Entertainment. He has come on and been appointed as the new president of WoTC, and he will be also leading the digital gaming side over at Hasbro. So it looks like he's going to be wearing a couple different hats. He's going to be overseeing their gaming studios, their digital licensing agreements, and then he's going to basically be leading the strategy for key franchises like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. Um, what does that mean? With that and Dan Ayub, who wants to franchise D&D, who knows? D&D's future right now under WotC and Hasbro is really kind of up in the air. I'm worried about it, but all we can do is wait and see what happens. So um, we'll have a link for that in the description if you're interested in the news article to kind of see what's going on over there. Keep yourself in the loop. But we're going to jump right into the next thing, which is going to be the October product reveal for Dungeons and Dragons, which is going to be a new Stranger Things tie-in. So they are getting ready to release Stranger Things Welcome to the Hellfire Club as a box set. So anybody who watched season 4, you got to see Eddie leading the Hellfire Club as the dungeon master, sitting at the table while they played Dungeons and Dragons. Um, that's probably the longest piece that we've ever seen in all of Stranger Things. Everybody talks about Stranger Things and how it's done more for D&D than pretty much anybody except for Critical Role in the past few years. But honestly, if you look at the first 3 seasons, I think there's less than 90 seconds of
Mm-hmm.
them even mentioning anything related to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
But season 4, Hellfire Club and Eddie Dungeon Mastering for them and all really kind of spurred the movement for D&D over there, and now they're going to capitalize on it with this box set. I've looked at a couple of reviews online, some of the art that's been released. They're doing a very 80s retro theme feel for the art. And my understanding is what it's going to be is it's going to be basically modules that Eddie was going to run had he not been lost as he was in the season finale. By the way, spoilers. So Eddie Munson was the leader of the Hellfire Club. And basically, the way my understanding is it's going to play like you're playing these 4 modules that he left behind unplayed. It looks to me like it's going to be more of a kind of a board game combined with maybe simplified rules for D&D, but it's hard to tell right now just based off the artwork and stuff that we're seeing. But it is interesting. We'll post a link for that in the description as well, so you guys can take a look at it and give us your thoughts and feedback on it. But we've got some video game news also this week. I'm sure some of you have already heard about Critical Role announcing that they are going to dip their toes into the video game market. They seem to be kind of really branching out, diversifying, and more power to them. They're going to be partnering with AdHoc Studios on multiple projects, they're saying, basically including a game that will be set in the game setting of Exandria, which, as anybody who's familiar with Critical knows, that's where they played their campaign 2 and 3 in. And it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's got a lot of potential if they pay attention to it the way they did with their cartoon on Amazon. AdHoc Studios has got a pretty good reputation. I think that they could be a real player in the market. But they did say that their production timeline is probably going to be 4 to 5 years. So I don't think we're going to see anything from them soon. But that news is out there, and we will have a link for that in the description as well. So after that, we're going to jump into some pretty interesting comic news. Stephen, you've got a little something to say about the Winchester Boys, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. Supernatural's coming back, which I literally can't believe. What's it been off like 5, 6 years now? But they're
5 years 5 years since the show ended. Yeah.
right. I can't wait. I'm a huge fan of the show. It's kind of always been one of my guilty pleasures, especially the early seasons, which are super cheese. That's just the time. It's just the product of the times. But it's coming back, and a lot of the original people are coming back. I just love that show. It's one of my comfort shows. One of the ones I can put on when I have a day off and kind of just tune everything out and watch a show. That's one of like my top 5. It's awesome. So I can't wait. I really hope it. I think it's coming out around Halloween or something.
Halloween is a comic book. Just to
As a comic
clarify
book.
for
Okay.
everybody.
Okay.
Don't get your hopes up. It's not the show. It's a comic book. But
I'm glad
is gonna
anytime
come
it's anything we can get.
yeah, Dynamite Entertainment will be running the show, and it's been 10 years since there was a comic book out, and 5 years, like we said, 5 years since the show.
I don't even know
ended.
if I've ever read the
But
comic books of it.
I saw them a couple times, but I think at that point I was basically falling off of comic books, so I didn't pick them up. But it is going to feature the Winchester boys and some new adventures. I don't know exactly where it's going to pick up. They haven't really said, so I don't know if it's going to pick up at the end of the show or if this is going to be kind of something retro. But we'll find out. Those who are interested in it, it will be out around Halloween time from Dynamite Entertainment. But one of us, not me, but one of us did go to see Superman. But instead of Superman, he went and watched something else. Steven, you want to let us in on what you saw?
Yeah, had every intention on seeing Superman, and there was only one showing. Which Dad and I were talking. Does that mean Superman's doing bad? Looking at online, it looks like it's doing fine. But because of the show times, I actually went ahead and saw Fantastic Four. It was great. I don't like to give things a number rating because I think you have to rate every movie on its own. Because if you rate something a 7 and then rate something else a 7, people are going to be like, oh, they're just as good as each other. But that might not be true. The rating really needs to be how well did this movie tell its story. That's how you rate it. So I don't want to give a rating, but I will say it's probably the best Marvel movie I've seen. Now I haven't seen Thunderbolts, so I don't really know much about that other than that Sentry's in it, which is very interesting.
Right.
This was probably the best Marvel movie I've seen since like the early Avengers, Captain America, Winter Soldier, stuff like that. I mean, it's up there with those. Now, does it hit the heights of those? Probably not. But it was really well done. And if you're like me, Pedro Pascal's in everything, and I'm not going to say he's a bad actor, but it's like another Pedro Pascal movie, great. And he did serviceable as Reed Richards, as a Reed Richards that's under he's under attack. I mean, this movie's all about him trying to solve a very unsolvable problem. I think just about everybody else. Now, speaking of the Hellfire Club and Stranger Things, Joseph Quinn, Eddie from Stranger Things, is the Human Torch in this. He was him and the Thing, and I can't ever remember this guy's name, but he was in like the show The Bear. He was actually in Daredevil. He was, what was his name? Punisher. Sorry, he was like Microchip, or that guy in Punisher that was his sidekick he was like the data guy. So he was in this as the Thing. He played the Thing, and Vanessa Kirby was Sue Storm. Anyway, the movie was awesome. There was tons of fan service moments. Like the first scene in one of the first scenes in the movie is them acting out the first cover the Fantastic Four were ever on, fighting Giganto.
Awesome.
That was awesome. Like they put that in, and like there was just so much fan service, and this is technically an Elseworlds or whatever you want to call it. It takes place on Earth 828, which I guess spoiler, but not really. I mean, this takes place in the 60s. Like this obviously isn't the same universe as main Marvel.
Right.
I just thought it just seemed like a fresh, fun superhero movie, which it's been so. I mean, Marvel's just like every time you turn on a Marvel movie anymore, it's just like, oh my gosh, I just want to see the end credit scene and leave. Like I don't even care about everything that happens.
Yeah.
This one was. I mean, I took Madison and like she's seen like Iron Man. She's never seen any of the other ones. And if the best praise I can give this movie is that on the way home she asked me to look up how many other Marvel movies there were because she now wants to see them. And I said, just keep in mind, there's a lot of not awesome ones. And and she's like, well, I just want to I want to understand and I want to see. So like, I took someone who has zero comic book history at all, and she saw it and she loved it.
Good.
So it was fun. It's not amazing. It's not like, oh my god, it's not like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 1 again, but it's very, very good. It's strong.
And I'm glad to hear that because I heard so many things
Yeah, yeah, dude,
online.
the
I
internet
mean,
is
it's just
crazy, man. Like half the
you
things I
can't
read,
believe.
yeah, they're not even
Yeah,
true. They're not even true, like at all.
they're not, and it's just there's been so much hype and so much scorn around this movie that I'm like, do I want to go to the theater and see it, or do I want to wait until it comes out on streaming? And after you saw it, and then our friends over at Clownfish TV, they watched it and they loved it.
Hmm.
So I'm probably going to go to the theater and check it out this week. So
It's
that's
worth it. I
something
mean,
I'll actually
in my
rewatch.
opinion, it's worth it. We went to a place near us that's kind of like a Cine Bistro where you get recliner seats and they bring food to your table and stuff. So for me to go see a movie that alone, that movie is expensive because just the
Yeah,
way it is. That's the only real theater near us. We have to travel pretty far to go to like an old fashioned theater. So if I see a
right.
movie and I don't regret it, my wallet doesn't regret it. It was good. So it was really good. We still want to try to see Superman. I watch a lot of like shout out to Angry Joe who will never watch this video, but if you did, shout out to you, buddy. We've been watching your videos and talking about you literally since I was a
For
child.
years.
Um,
Yeah, for years.
he's a huge Superman fan. He's seen it 5 times as of today, and
Wow.
he's got tons of takes. I think he rates it at about a 7. Um, he likes Man of Steel, and I like Man of Steel. The original Man of Steel is so good. This movie's just
Right.
such. This new Superman just seems like it's a lot more campy and a lot more lighthearted, and I think that's just more. That's going to hit more audiences than a darker Man of Steel movie will.
Right.
So we'll see. I still want to try to see Superman. This is not me saying, oh, don't see Superman, see Fantastic Four. I do
Right.
want to see Superman, but
Yeah.
Fantastic Four is great. So
Well, in other movie news, and I just saw this tonight before we jumped on here to record, they're going to release a extended version of Predator: Killer of Killers,
ooh,
and there is at the very end, if you've watched the first one, and we've already talked about that on here, they have at the end as they're wheeling the Viking warrior woman into the freezing chamber where they have all these creatures stored that they use to hunt.
hmm,
You see the heroine from the movie Prey.
right.
She's in one of the freezers. Well, apparently, and I was on the lookout. I said they've got to have Dutch in here. They've got to have Dutch. They've got to have the character from Predator 2 in here that was
Danny
played by
Glover,
Danny
baby.
Glover. Didn't see him, but in the extended version, they had somebody put up screenshots today. The extended version will show Danny Glover's character and Dutch,
That
played by Arnold
is
Schwarzenegger, the first Predator.
so cool.
They're both going to be in freezer units.
That's so
So
cool. I love that.
we, maybe we'll see them down the road in another animated movie.
Have you
Just
seen? Speaking of Predators, have you seen the trailer for Predator? What is it called? Shit. Badlands.
oh yes, I saw it because you sent it to me,
Oh,
and it
good.
looks amazing.
I
Looks
didn't.
amazing.
I didn't know this, but a lot of the Prey guys are involved with this. If that, which are,
Really?
yeah, a lot of them. So this
Now is that
looks.
going to theaters or is that going to be
It's
streaming?
theaters, which blew me away
Okay.
because
Okay.
this movie, again, Angry Joe. I watched his reaction, and he kind of had the same feelings I do, where this movie doesn't seem to be trying that hard to cater to like casual Predator fans.
Right.
This goes into a lot of like Wayland Yutani lore. There's a lot of Wayland Yutani like
Okay.
automatons and cyborgs in this. The
Right.
second main character is Elle Fanning playing a cyborg,
She's playing. Yeah,
and
she's playing a cyborg. So
the obviously the scenes where he's carrying her on his back because her legs are cut off is like a Chewbacca reference for Star Wars.
yeah,
Uh,
Chewbacca and 3PO. Yep.
yeah, but I mean, this movie, there's a lot of like just in the trailer, things that I think a casual fan is going to see and be like, "What is that? I don't understand." So it seems like they're
Right.
going at main theaters and they're going at main fans. They're not. This is not dumbed down
Yep.
casual. I'm excited. I was already excited, and then I saw like people are like, "Yeah, it's got the Prey guys." I was like, "Oh, I'm very excited. Like, I will see this."
Yeah.
So,
So talking about movies that may or may not be hit or miss.
mhm.
Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum.
Hunt for Gollum,
So
baby.
um, they talked about this last year when they released it was going to come out. There's been talk that Vigo is going to come back to play Aragorn. There's been talk that Sir Ian McClellan will come back to reprise his role as Gandalf. But seeing as how we're 20 years past the movies, how is that going to work for Aragorn? We're what 7 or 8 years past the Hobbit movie. So how's that going to work for Sir Ian McKellen? I mean, I guess you could use technology to soften their look, make them look younger, but I don't know how crazy I am about that idea. The story has potential. They don't really talk about it much in the books. It's mentioned briefly. It's mentioned briefly in some of the other movies, but I mean, this whole thing has just been shot out of sequence. I mean, Lord of the Rings first, and we go back and we do the Hobbit, and now we're going to do Gollum, which should have taken place between the two trilogies. But I'll probably check it out. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, and any chance to revisit Middle Earth on the big screen, I'll probably go see it. But I'm going to reserve judgment on it for right now.
Yep, that's my exact opinion. Is that I would literally watch if they release a movie of a guy in a tavern pouring ale for people as they pass through in the Lord of the Rings universe, I'd go watch that movie. But I wouldn't recommend that movie to everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see this come out, especially if it's true that it's going to be multi-part, which I highly disagree with.
I hope not.
I think this should come out as a mini-series on a streaming platform, and
right.
We'll see. I mean, again, this story in the books, this happened over.
Don't let Amazon do it.
Yeah. I mean, this story took place over. I think I could be wrong. A couple years, at least a couple years in the books, where Gandalf went to study this and figure it out. So, I mean, I guess that's their excuse. But also, if you know lore, no real fighting or wars or any real movement happened in this period. It was mostly just Gandalf studying and then him and Aragorn trying to track him. So, if they have a movie and there's like a huge conflict, instantly you have to be like, well, that's not right, So we'll see. I don't know. I'm down for anything in that universe, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So, there is something coming out that is definitely in your wheelhouse, Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to talk about the new movie coming out from Robert Eggers?
Yeah, can't wait. So Robert Eggers, everyone knows I have been like this guy's cheerleader for a long time. I mean, I love his slow burn, like the sense. I mean, again, if you watch Nosferatu, you'll understand. It's just like this overwhelming sense of dread. Like, how are these people ever going to overcome this? The Witch had it. The Lighthouse had it. Obviously, Nosferatu had it. I love the Northman. A Werewolf seems like it is just right up his alley when I heard he was doing it. Of course, he got Willem Dafoe involved again, which is always a good choice in my opinion.
Always a good choice.
So, for me, I know, a lot of people say they didn't like The Witch because it was really slow and they didn't like this or that. If you ever slander Robert Eggers or a movie with Ralph Ineson in it, I will fight you. So I think it was great. Ralph Ineson, by the way, does the voice for Galactus in Fantastic Four. So that was also very cool. I think he even did the face capture. His face looked like him too. Anyway, Werewolf's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. I hope it's, even if it's even in the same league as his other movies, it'll be one of the better werewolf movies of my lifetime. So, speaking of that,
I'm going to hit you with a question. I'm going to hit you with a question before we move on.
Do it.
Favorite werewolf movie, any year, any black, white, color, doesn't matter.
Well, I have to say it. Lon Chaney Jr. Werewolf. The Wolfman. I have to.
Wolfman.
Now, do I? It is my favorite, and if I had to have one forever, that's the one. But it's not my favorite werewolf transformation.
Okay.
And
favorite werewolf transformation.
I think it has to be American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
especially given the level of animatronics and special effects they have.
I think that's my favorite. And just because I have to, my second favorite transformation, rest in peace Ozzy Osbourne, is the music video "Bark at the Moon." Rest in peace, buddy.
By the way, rest in peace Ozzy Osbourne.
100%, man. I know he was a character, but I he invented metal, and if I listened to their original Black Sabbath album, which I think to this day is the scariest album cover of all time. and I watched a video of them performing the song Black Sabbath in 1970, and one of the comments there hit me where somebody said, "Imagine driving down a country road with your dad and his two-door pickup truck in 1970, and this song comes on the radio." And nowadays, you don't really think about that, but nowadays, like, if a rock song comes out, is even if it's a new rock song, you've heard something like that before.
Yeah.
In 1970, you've never heard a song like Black Sabbath, ever.
Black Sabbath, cutting edge.
So it's like, imagine, like, all you've heard is, like, John Denver or something, you know? And then it's like, that song comes on the radio, and, like, you and your dad would have to look at each other like, dude, did we just drive into hell? What happened? You know, like, so, you know, it seems like more and more these days, these icons that did it like nobody else are leaving us. And so, anyway, sorry to go off the werewolf tangent, but Bark at the Moon, baby. Bark at the Moon.
Yeah. My favorite werewolf movie would have to be, I would have to agree, Lon Chaney's portrayal of the Wolfman.
It's got to be, man.
Universal Monsters. Incredible movie. I remember seeing that as a kid.
Oh, dude.
You know, we would spend summers at home, and my mom would put on Channel 12 back home in Virginia, and Channel 12 would just have the old black and white movies on all day because your kids were home. And that's where I first saw it and fell in love with it. I'm going to say my favorite transformation, probably also American Werewolf in London.
It's up there.
I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to a movie most people probably haven't heard of.
Okay.
Good movie.
Yep.
All right. Dog Soldiers.
Oh, Dog Soldiers, dude. What a banger. What a banger.
That thing, you know, it hit my radar when I saw a preview for it on late night TV. So, you know, English soldiers in the Scottish Highlands on maneuvers, and they run into werewolves. And it's just such a cool movie. The fight scenes at the end when they're trying to hold the werewolf pack off from the little cottage, and the werewolves are getting in, they run out of ammo, and they're fighting with freaking butcher knives and frying pans. Hilarious. Scary as hell, but hilarious at the same time the way it was done. It's just a great movie. If you haven't seen Dog Soldiers, you've got to check it out. There was a second one.
It's awesome. Yeah, only watch the original. And just kind of to throw another curveball at you. Another one I like that doesn't get a lot of press is a movie called The Howling. If you've never seen it,
The Howling was really.
It was
good
great. Yeah, it was really good.
80s. Scary as hell. You know, where you get to see the whole werewolf thing. The werewolf is just humongous. I mean, he was like 8 or 9 feet tall. And then at the end, when the female lead at the end, in order to convince people werewolves are real, she starts transforming on a live broadcast of a news show. It was amazing. I mean, it was just Dee Williams, I think is the lady's name, was the actress.
I believe so.
Great movie, excellent movie. The movies that came out after it, not so much. I mean, even I think Howling 2 or was it Howling 3 that had Christopher Lee in it as the hunter. I mean, they tried to make a whole lore thing for it and turn it into a series, and it did not hold up the way the Howling did. So that's
those are 3 very cool movies. I will also shout out Dad for giving me this cool ass painting or drawing here. Well, sorry, the light is really bad. We've had this like my entire life. So
that was actually a gift to me from artist Ken Wolak, Wolak. That is an actual original hand-drawn sketch that he went back and inked with black and silver ink, and then he did the moon in blue to kind of set it apart. But it's a really great piece. Hung in Steven's room for years, and I'm like, you know what? Steven's he's a much bigger monster fan than me, so it belongs in his home. So
yeah, I'm Wish.com Van Helsing. That's what they call me on the street. So
basically. So you've got some news about D4.
Imagine that. So yeah, I've been playing D4. I regrettably haven't played a lot. Life's just been lifing as usual. But I've been playing a little bit. I played Pulverize. Honestly, it's too good to the point that like I'm not even having fun with it because it literally just nukes everything. I mean, it's the best build for every kind of content. And I'm very stubborn, and I don't like to play like something that good because I don't get to feel like self-expression when I make something not as good. So I found a lot more enjoyment in again, I've said this before, but kind of doing something different. And usually I fail and it's awful and I wasted my time, but sometimes it's fun. And this season I have a build of Earth Spike, which I won't go into this too deep, but it's basically a basic skill, so it's not even like a core skill. Your druid just casts a little slab of earth to come shooting out of the ground. Um,
Okay.
and I have a bunch of gear, which I have a little write up on it, but a bunch of gear and some legendary items and some aspects that I'm using. Where instead of just firing one, I fire them in a line, and I also fire 3 lines of them. And I love the werebear, so I'm using some gear that makes me permanently in werebear mode. So I have this giant
Okay.
werebear just like firing earth spikes everywhere on the screen, and it's out of all like what I call my meme builds, which are not like I made them just to see how silly it would be. This
Right.
build thrives content. Like it is unbelievable. Like it's ridiculous. So I'm having a ton of fun with it. I haven't seen anyone else on my server playing it at all. Everyone's playing Pulverize, pretty much everybody. So I'm having fun doing this
Okay.
different kind of build. My buddy Josh will vouch for it. He laughed the first time he saw it. Like I fired. We're playing this really hard in-game content called the Pit, which is like an ever
Okay.
escalating dungeon. Every time you play it, it gets harder and harder. And him and I were stuck on like a Pit 60, and with my Pulverize, and he was playing at that time his Necro still, but he has switched to Pulverized Druid because that's the correct way to play. And I fired 1 line of Earth Spikes and just blew an entire pack of Elites up. And he was like, dude, what is this? And I was like, it's a build nobody else is playing. And I'm just autistic enough to spend the time to play it and like learn it. And, so it's been fun. My other build that I've touched on before is my support build, which is all about, I don't do any damage. I just group enemies up and I make the enemies weak and make my teammates stronger. And when they're both running their necromancers, they have like 30 minions, so I'm buffing 30 minions and grouping up enemies and just watching them die. So the support build's been fun, but I did want to expand a little bit. Last episode, I believe, not that y'all would know because my mic was off, but I did bring up a unique item in the game. Or kind of really it went broader than that. We kind of talked about what makes an item fun for your character.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of, in my opinion, it's two real big things. It changes the way your character plays, and other people can identify that item from a distance. Um,
Right.
so like we could take this discussion into a broader like D&D tabletop, whatever, however we want. But there's an item in this game that makes your lightning strikes do more damage as a druid, and I thought, wouldn't it be more fun instead of just making lightning do more damage? Turn the lightning into poison and make it poison rain. And that way it's like,
I like
again,
it.
from across the room, it's like, oh, that guy must have this really cool item. Or like,
Yeah.
if you're running companions as a druid, there's a thing called the poison creeper, and it's like this vine monster under the ground. And there's an
Uh-huh.
item that makes it so that vine monster, when you activate its active ability, which it normally comes out of the ground and stuns all the enemies, you can get an aspect that makes it so it's earth damage. So it comes out and fires earth spikes, which is my build.
Right.
But why not have an item that turns that poison creeper into like a fire worm, and it comes out of the ground and
Ooh.
shoots like flame breath around. And it's like, so I guess my
Right.
my my big question here is like, outside of balance, which I hate the word balance in video games because like, what are we balancing for? Like everything should be fun. Everything should be overpowered.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
it just seems like in games, it's like they're scared to give you like that kind of power, or like it's almost like I mean, I know my imagination isn't that good. Like there has to be some reason they don't
Right.
do these things. But do you ever run into that in like a
Right.
tabletop game where I'm sure you do, where you have like this really good idea and you're like, why couldn't they, instead of just doing this, why couldn't they have done this? And like, it
Oh yeah.
happens to me all the
Yeah.
time,
I
all the
mean,
time.
yeah. I mean, in first edition D&D, you had the artifacts and stuff that were really neat. But I mean, you didn't normally encounter those things till later game when you're fighting higher level challenge rating creatures, things like that. So it wasn't game breaking.
Right.
D&D 5e, there's some, there's a lot of what you call official or canon content, but then there's a lot of homebrew content. And the homebrew content's where you got to be careful, because homebrew content is left up to the creator's imagination what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And some of those things are really neat. Some of them are very theme oriented, like I've
Hmm.
mentioned the Dungeon Report before.
Yeah.
They do some really great stuff. I have play tested a lot of their things at the table. I've got another order in with them for some more things to be sent to me so that I can roll test those. Their stuff is really, a lot of thought is put into keeping it level with play,
Hmm.
and being for a certain level of play, like third to fifth levels, sixth to ninth, whatever.
Hmm.
But there is there is potential. I've seen some stuff floating around on the internet, Instagram, and things like that, where people have these ridiculous weapons that are like, I would call them basically artifacts or legendary weapons, and they're giving them out to fifth and sixth level players
Yeah.
in a game like D&D, where a DM is already kind of behind the eight ball with a broken challenge rating system, trying to keep things balanced. To add things like that just makes it worse. But
Yeah.
I do like giving things to my players that are kind of aesthetic. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a player that's a finesse based thief. He uses a rapier. Well, I actually gave him a rapier that is kind of a frost brand. It does like 1d6 extra frost damage if he hits with it. But I also did this thing where it's like, okay, well, it gives you resistance to cold. If you get into a cold environment, it doesn't bother you. If
Hmm.
you get into a hot environment, you stay cooler. It's just aesthetic things, but it's little things like that that players like. They give a little flavor, but it doesn't really unbalance your game. So.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like in a lot of the games I play, I mean, you of course want like what I call a stat stick, right? Which like, oh, this thing makes you
Yeah.
more powerful, of course. But like at the
Right.
same time,
Yeah.
a lot of what you're looking at in the end game is like, how can I make my end game just not so monotonous? And like, again, I think a
Right.
simple like elemental change, like oh, lightning storm is now poison rain. Well, that opens up an entire different like progression method where it's like, oh, instead of searching for storm damage stuff, I need to start looking for like damage over time stuff. So like your build has,
Yeah.
maybe the damage output doesn't really change, but the flavor's completely different. Which I think is why
Right.
I've
Right.
gone into that same direction as like I like playing a dwarf, but I never play a dwarf warrior because like I like the dwarf,
Right.
I like the style of a dwarf,
Right.
but I don't always want
Right.
it to be a warrior. So like
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where my mind is all the time. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be like way better or overpowered. It just needs to be different. Um,
Yeah, dwarves are great characters. They just, especially in D&D, I love the mountain dwarf
yeah.
because you get a constitution bonus and a strength bonus starting out, and they make great clerics. Clerics don't have the hit points that a fighter does, but you take a mountain dwarf and make him a cleric.
Hmm.
Just because they're sturdy, they make great clerics. I mean, especially if you want to do like a cleric of war
Hmm.
or a cleric of the light domain or something
Hmm.
like that. I mean, dwarves can make great characters. They can make great wizards.
Yeah.
First edition, second edition D&D, dwarves had magic resistance because they didn't use magic, so they weren't mages, they weren't sorcerers.
Hmm.
Clerics were few and far between, but now with 5e, you can have a dwarf wizard, which I think is fine. You don't
I'm,
see very many of them, but they are.
in my opinion, like
So
that's also something that should exist, right? Where like every race can be like nobody wants to be race locked with, oh, if you want to be this certain class, you have to be this race. But I do think it's important to have like, and this can kind of be a broader discussion too. But like I know in World of Warcraft or like Elder Scrolls, a high elf makes a better mage because they just have a higher intellect. However, if you want
right.
to play, a mage, you could pick any class, but you're just going to have
Yeah.
there's going to be like a slight. I mean, when you're talking about min maxing, you're going to miss out on like 5%, 2%. But in my
Yeah.
opinion, like like you said before, I think the rule of cool always wins, and like I think that's important. Like if you want to, I always thought a dwarf is. I have the most fun with a dwarf as like a rogue, because it's just completely
Right.
different from everything you think about a dwarf.
What
You
you
never think rogue.
Yeah.
And a dwarf is not
Yeah.
going to make the best rogue. Like probably a halfling is better, or like something like that is better. But in
Mm-hmm.
my head canon, it was always like, oh, this dwarf was, a proud prince of like a really strong dwarf clan in the mountains, and for some reason he was outcasted and kicked out of his kingdom. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, when you run into Thorin in The Hobbit, he's almost like a rogue. He's on the run. He's kind of an outcast.
Yeah.
he doesn't fight like a
Yeah.
warrior king. He fights more like a rogue or like a scoundrel. You know, it's just like how it is.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, let's jump into some board games. You picked up a pretty interesting board game this
yeah,
week.
yeah. I've seen this brand off and on, but it's called Arkham Horror, and it's Lovecraftian. It's a lot. It's very, cosmic horror, Shadows over Innsmouth, Call of Cthulhu, very New England Lovecraftian style. And to be honest, this Arkham Horror, it's by Fantasy Flight Games. They've done tons of stuff. But they've got a board game and also a card game set in this Arkham Horror series. So I picked up
Mm-hmm.
the third edition board game, which is actually
Okay.
what I like about it is it's completely co-op. So it's
Oh,
the players are actually going against kind of the, this. I don't want to say AI, but you're going against the game. Like you're fighting against the game
right.
itself. And it's really fun. I've played an earlier edition of this game a long time ago, and actually forgot I played it until I saw an ad for the new edition. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, the world's awesome. If you're at all familiar with Lovecraftian stuff, it's right up that alley. But they have the third edition of that, and they also have, I believe the card game is relatively new. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a date on here. But
Okay.
I believe the card game is also cooperative, which is different. So instead of
Okay.
me versus you, it's us versus kind of
Working
the
something like this. Yeah.
yeah, and the card
Okay.
game looks like it's kind of in the same vein as the board game. Very cool 1920s aesthetic. It's
Okay.
really fun.
All right. We'll have a link for that in the description if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put up some
So
pictures.
Fantasy Flight Games, check them out.
I'll put up some
Definitely check
pictures.
them out.
It's pretty fun.
Well, we've got some more video game news.
Mm,
Killing Floor 3.
yeah.
How did that sneak past us?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't remember seeing any advertising, any marketing for it. Nothing. Maybe I
Me
just
either.
missed it.
Yeah, yeah, me either. I got, again, I think it was a Steam pop up that was like, hey, this game is out or coming out, and I was like, what? And I looked at it, and the only,
This is a great game for you. Yeah.
yeah, and the only info I really had on it was, the beta came out like late last year, early this year, and was kind of, it was just early, so people were like, oh, it's, not fully done or this or that. People that don't understand what a beta is for, and I get it. Call of Duty releases a beta these days, and it's literally just the game. They're just releasing it early to make you pay more. So I understand why people are beta hesitant anymore. But I mean, Killing Floor 1 and 2 are just like classic wave-based shoot 'em up, fun co-op zombie
Yeah.
games, and the second game really hit its stride. Unfortunately, later in its lifespan. I played early. All you did too. We all did. Our whole group of friends
Yeah.
played.
Yeah.
But later in the game is when I had the most fun because they opened up all guns to all classes. So this kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier, where like, you could play any class as any race in Dungeons and Dragons, but some races might have a modifier or like a plus to this that would be more advantageous for you to do it. And they kind of changed
Right.
Killing Floor to that. So what early on it was like if you wanted to play the support class, you had to run a shotgun. The end. And
Right.
that was kind of like,
Right.
oh well, I want to play support and put down ammo, but I don't want to play it with a shotgun. Well, later on in the game, they just
Right.
opened it up completely, where you could play any class with any gun, but if you were playing as a support, you had an extra bonus to shotguns. But there were some levels
Right.
where shotguns just didn't feel good to use.
Makes sense.
So
Some
yeah,
they don't. Yeah.
so like you could just switch it up and play with something else.
COD was like that.
Yeah,
COD was like that when you played Call of Duty and you
yeah,
had like, oh, you run the support guy, you're dropping ammo. You always had to have a machine gun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which like, oh, okay, I have a machine gun, but I mean,
yeah,
what if I want to use something else? I mean, what if we're playing a map where a machine gun doesn't make sense? I want to use a submachine gun, or I want to
yeah.
use a battle rifle or something. But
Yeah, I think there should
so
always
yeah, when they
be.
open it up like that,
Yeah, I think there should always be incentives to using a certain gun for like a certain build or class, but at the same time, you shouldn't be locked down to it. And Killing Floor 2 finally, changed all that, and that game was great. There was tons of fun, like lateral progression and replayability in that game. So I'm sure, Killing Floor 3 will be the same. I wish I could tell you I'd be able to play it within the next few days. I just don't know if I will. but I'm sure I will play it. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'll play it a lot. It's going to be a fun zombie shoot 'em up game, which all of them have been. Especially when Call of Duty, in my opinion, I don't like to talk bad, but that franchise just isn't for me anymore. And
Yeah.
the zombie mode was always as like a fun little addition. Like, oh, the multiplayer is the bread and butter, but there
Yeah.
is this really cool zombies mode. Well, now I can't
Yeah.
I can't make myself spend $60 on a game that I know I'm not going to enjoy the multiplayer just for
Right.
a half-baked zombies mode on the
It's no
side.
zombie game.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
rather just play a
Yeah.
Killing Floor or something else. So, anyway,
Right.
I'll probably, knowing me, I'll probably play it and have a post on the Apprentice Corner within the next couple weeks. So, excited for that.
So be on the lookout for that. Check it out over on our website. The Apprentice's Corner is always some great content over there. I'll tell you one we are looking forward to, especially after the. I mean, I know that Borderlands 3 was kind of, it got mixed reviews,
Right.
but I think overall it was good reviews. For me, it was kind of meh. I like the soldier because I like the mech, that you
Yeah,
could bring in
yeah.
and have it support you. But I'm looking forward to Borderlands 4.
Me
I
too.
really am. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since Borderlands 3 was out. I mean, that's been out for years. But Borderlands 4 is finally going to hit, and
Yep.
I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, the gameplay
Yeah.
looks pretty tight from what we've seen.
Yep.
Yeah, Spike from I don't know. There's a lot of things about it that's coming back that looks neat to me.
Yeah.
Tiny Tina's Wonderland is going to be included in that, so
Yeah.
I was a fan of the Tiny Tina character, so I'm
Yeah,
looking forward
yeah.
to Borderlands 4.
Yeah, it's one of the better looter shooters probably of all time. I have a very soft spot, and as you know, if you've seen my blog post, but the Division series, because it's rooted
Yeah.
in like real life survival tactical world stuff, which Dad and I are a part of outside of here. Um, but I love the Division, but Borderlands has always been that really fun, just like nonsense looter shooter game. 1 and 2 were great. They were awesome. 3 was also good, but at the same time, if you beat the game and you were like a min-maxer grinder like I am, the content and like the progression after the game was over was just kind of lacking. And all I remember is like the ridiculous difficulty spike where it's like, all I remember is like there was this arena, and that was kind of the end game where you got to this arena and you would fight in it over and over and it would get harder and harder. And it was like the certain level that I could beat was like a cakewalk. And then, but to get the rewards and to make it worth my time, I had to adjust the difficulty up 1 notch, and that 1 notch made it like literally impossible.
Huge difference.
And it was like, it's like I'm either sweating so hard it's not fun, or it's so easy I'm not earning anything that I need, and it's also not fun.
Yeah, just waltzing through.
And what sucks
you get a bunch
is,
of weapons that are below your grade.
yeah, it's like, but the gameplay's never been bad. Like the Borderlands gameplay has always been very tight. Like it's been very good.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when Tiny Tina's Wonderlands came out, which was kind of like a Borderlands 3.5 between 3 and 4, that game to me was like, again, the gameplay and like the moment to moment action was so tight, and it did a lot of things really cool. And it was set in a like Tiny Tina was the DM, and the main characters were the players playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like that was how Tiny Tina's Wonderlands worked, and the action, instead of grenades, you had spells, and instead of like the normal classes, you were kind of like fantasy classes, and all the enemies were like fantasy enemies. And that game was really fun and did a couple things I hope they carry over, where you could play a class, and then just like D&D, I think, at a certain level you can spec into another class. So all I remember about that game is I played some kind of like druid character. Like I think it was called a warden or something in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and it was kind of like a nature class. And then I spec'd into like some kind of elemental wizard or something. But all I remember is my companion was a big mushroom, and he would run around, and that was like my companion as like this warden druid character. And I spec'd into some like damage over time warlock style character, and like my mushroom buddy would like run around and fart on people and like do like a gazillion damage. But like, it was such a fun game, but again, it ran into the same problem where at the end you got to this thing called Chaos Dungeons, and to run them, you had to donate these keys or something to run them, and like yeah, it's like super easy, super easy, super easy, insanely hard, and like I'm talking like so
Right.
hard that like I had to have 4 people online with me play it that were all like googling the best builds in the game to like actually beat the content. And it's like, dude, it needs to fall somewhere in the
Right.
middle where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
if you want to like squeeze everything out of this orange and get every ounce of gameplay, you have to be a devoted player. But I
Right.
also want to be able to play with my casual friends and like play most of what the game has to offer without sweating too hard. And so far,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it seems like Borderlands 4, they kind of understand that now, and they're building a much more, I don't want to say casual, like there's still going to be really hard content in the game. They say a lot of these bosses
Oh
you
yeah.
can fight are going to be really hard. The one thing I do like um, is they're taking a page out of Diablo's book, and the game is going to be, it's going to be an RPG, and it's going to be a looter, just like Diablo is, but
Hmm.
it's going to have MMO style activities in it.
Okay.
I'm a huge like MMOs to me are like when I think of games that I remember like that I'm fond of were like those massive MMO games where you would log in and all your buddies were online and you'd all be in the town and you would party
Right.
up and go do raids and all this stuff. And it seems like Borderlands 4 is going to have a lot of that. It's going to be an open world. There's going to be a lot of like replayable content. Just a lot of like what I call MMO light, which Diablo has that. Diablo has crafting. Diablo has you can go out and
Right.
mine. You can mine for certain ore, and it's kind of things that weren't really seen outside of an MMO until a couple years ago. And Borderlands will have that. So
Hmm.
I think that's a good step in the right direction in terms of like more things to do and a way to introduce content that isn't just play this hard dungeon over and over and over again forever. It's like okay, I need a little bit more than that,
Right.
and it seems like they're doing it. So can't wait for that. The gameplay's always been good, so I am not worried about the gameplay. It's basically everything
Yeah.
complementing the gameplay I'm worried about, and it seems like they've at least learned a couple lessons from 3. So
Hopefully so. So. We're going to jump into some World of Darkness news.
hmm
Stephen, you want to take that?
yeah. This one's kind of a small one. I know we've talked about World of Darkness a lot recently, just because I've kind of been on a kick. I think the setting is awesome. And we talked about Jess Lanzillo last week, going over there. But
Yeah.
the studio that's making Bloodlines 2, the Chinese room, have bought their independence from their parent company. Um, and that comes with a lot of.
So they've left Sumo Digital.
So, yeah, and that comes with a lot of questions. I think they're probably doing it because they feel like they have to. But a company
Uh-huh.
buying their independence from a parent company, they've had to lay off some people because of that. Um, this
Hmm.
game, Bloodlines 2 has been in development hell for like 10 years, I feel like. Um,
Wow.
so, and they're saying it's coming out, holiday this year. And I'm sure, just like every other game, it's going to come out and it's going to take a couple patches before it's right. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping, them buying their independence was basically their way of saying, hey, maybe they were getting pushed into a corner and said like maybe the game wasn't going to come out, maybe they were trying to do that, and they said, you know what, we're going to buy our independence and we're going to release this game because they still stand by everything they've been saying about a quarter 4 release this year. So more power to them.
Okay.
I know that was a bold move. So I hope that comes to fruition and the game is. It's never going to live up to the original game. The original game was just such a classic, out of nowhere hit. But I do hope this game's at least in the same ballpark.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so. I mean, it's the World of Darkness setting's always been cool, and we've
It's
talked about
so
that.
cool.
And,
Yeah, it's so
uh,
cool.
it is such a great setting. I mean, it's a great TTRPG setting. I've never really played any of the video games, but I've heard some really great about them. So, um, D&D, back to D&D. D&D Beyond is talking about a new Cthulhu module,
Mm-hmm.
Cthulhu by Torchlight.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're going to kind of dip their toes into the Eldritch horror market with the old gods. And I'm not really certain exactly what all it's going to entail. We will post a link down in the show notes for you guys to take a look at it. But I'm hoping it's not just another cash grab by WoTC, but the horror genre is definitely something that is fun to play. I mean, we've played Bison, we've talked about that on here. The World of Darkness games. There's the old Gods of Appalachia TTRPG, which is out. which I understand is back in stock now. So you guys, if you're interested, you were waiting, they are back in stock over at their store. Yeah, this is something. I mean, D&D's kind of dabbled into the market with the realms of horror. Ravenloft, the Curse of Strahd, which has been out. It's been a big deal for them, for WoTC and Hasbro. But I would like to see them kind of get back into more horror themed things, because there is a market for it. So it looks like they're going to do that with Cthulhu by Torchlight. So we'll have that link for you guys down in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
But also kind of leading into that, WizKids is going to be doing an Iconics series with
Mm-hmm.
D&D horror clicks, or hero clicks, and
Yeah.
I didn't know that they were doing D&D click figures at all.
Yeah, they
I
have
know
a
back in the
ton.
day. Yeah, I know back in the day, we had the Marvel hero clicks. That was kind of a big thing when you were younger. We had a bunch of those. I still have some of them. I think I've still got Moon Knight and Ghost Rider just as sitting on my shelf as collectibles.
Mm-hmm.
But you collected the horror clicks there for a long time,
Oh, dude,
just because you're a big horror fan.
don't
Yeah,
even
the
get me started.
werewolf. You love those things. I'm sure
I
you still
still
have them
have them.
around somewhere.
I absolutely do, and they're super sick. I have the like Omega Rare Giant Cthulhu from the Horror Clicks. They only made like
Yep.
50 of them. I didn't get it until I was way
Yeah.
older. It was like shit. Even then, it was $350 or something. Um,
Yeah.
the Horror Clicks was so cool. It put a complete spin. I mean, Hero Clicks was all about your heroes and villains battling. In the Horror Clicks, it was kind of like this morally gray area where like one player was killers, the other player was killers. I mean, there was some priests and heroes and stuff,
Yeah.
but really the subject of the most of the games, if you were playing, if you weren't playing a side of good, was which side can kill the most innocent people faster. That was the game. I mean, you were going after
That was
tokens
the
that
game, man.
were, yeah. And what was cool is there were a lot of survivor, like there was even a sub, like a mini game, if you will, where you could play as a survivor if you were a nerd. But what was fun is like pitting the survivors against the rival killer player. You would put survivors into the
Mhm.
game that like had a lot of you could pick up weapons, and some survivors had certain abilities. It was like a sub game inside of a game where you were like, I want to kill the survivors on the map to get points, but I also want to put like strong survivors on the map that might be able to hold off his monsters until I can get there. And it was kind of just a
Right.
twist on like the hero clicks genre of the time, that just seemed so different. It added a different level of play. Um,
Right.
but yeah, there's a
But
hero
yeah, I'm
clicks
interested.
iconic set. I'll send you. I'll have images obviously in the recording, but also I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
They have a
Yeah.
hero
Yeah.
clicks iconics, the Den of the Displacer Beast, and it comes with a mimic chest, a Displacer Beast. This looks like just a sword and a pile of gold, but it's got a stat dial, so I don't know what that's for. And then a die.
Yeah.
Each one comes with their own dice, which is very cool. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's a collectability to it, just like a collectible card trading card game,
mhm.
where I'm sure they'll probably have like regular stat levels for a fighter, but then you can get the same fighter who's heroic or legendary or something.
Mhm.
And obviously they're going to be in boxes, and it's kind of a blind draw box. But there are those people who go out and they make these barcode scanners, and the barcode scanners will tell you what's in the box. So
Yeah.
that might be something that you guys might want to put on your radar if you're going to start collecting these. I'm just interested to see what they have. Not so much necessarily for the hero clicks side of things, but
Mhm.
can I take some of these things and put them on my table as miniatures?
A hundred. I mean,
I have so many
absolutely.
miniatures now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
I have so many
WizKids.
miniatures now, and my
Yeah.
wife gives me so much grief about it. Where are we going to buy these miniatures? Well, I guess we can build an addition on the house, because I
Yeah. Yeah.
just ordered an adult white dragon. I
Yeah.
just ordered an adult white dragon because WizKids has them on sale for 50% off. So I got an adult white dragon for $30.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I'm waiting for that to ship. So
I knew that
um,
WizKids did like normal D&D minis and stuff, but I didn't know that they did hero clicks. I will say there's another. This one's not out
yeah,
yet. It's only for pre-order. There is a Dungeons and Dragons hero clicks iconic set called Cave of the Owlbears, and
okay.
there's a full grown owl bear that looks very cool, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
baby owl bear click, and I think I might have to
I
buy
heard
this
so.
just for that because he's so cute.
Just
Um,
for that.
he looks awesome.
And Charlotte will wind up with.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's
Charlotte will wind up with.
he looks super cool. But I mean, this iconics thing, it goes beyond. I mean, they have The Sandman TV show, they have an iconic set for that, and just the
Okay.
the actual like mini like the sculpting and the painting of it, it's so much better than the HeroClix I remember. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're
Yeah, the
just they're
Hero
so
Clips
much
back in
better.
the day were pretty just. The paint jobs
I
on them were
I think they were
terrible.
still hand painting them, right?
I
Like
know
they were still doing them
you can.
themselves. So
I think they are hand. I don't think they're machine. I think it's all hand painted because you can get like the D&D sets. They have D&D sets out. They have sets for Pathfinder, and they're all done by WizKids.
yeah.
And some of them, like the larger miniatures, are normally pretty well done. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like the monsters and things like that are normally pretty decent. Where you start running into problem is like the human size are smaller. You know, so
Yeah.
like your humans, your elves, your dwarves, your gnomes, your halflings. As they get smaller, the paint gets worse, and
Mm-hmm.
it's. I mean,
Harder to do.
it's fine just to put a representation on the table, but if you're
Right.
looking for high quality paint, you know, WizKids is probably not it. So
Yeah, they just to name a few. I mean, obviously they have the Galactus set, probably um, piggybacking on the Fantastic Four movie out right now.
mhm.
They
Yeah,
have the Owl
he had
Bear.
a Galactus miniature way back in the day,
I have it.
and I
I
remember
still
he
own
was
it. Yeah,
yeah,
I have it
yeah,
right
he
now.
still owned it.
It's on my bookshelf.
And yeah, and I know they did. They and he had like a Sentinel for the
Yeah,
X-Men
yeah,
set.
yeah.
Yeah, there was all kinds of cool ones.
I
So
have the Sentinel and I have I mean, even back then, I remember. I think the Sentinel was like $100, and like Galactus
yeah.
was like 250 or something. But
Hey,
I've
WizKids, here's a money making idea. You can take it and run with it. How about a Godzilla hero
oh
clip?
my god, dude, that's just honestly like I've thought of like
Yeah.
two like
Why don't we have one?
well in the clicks like genre because I mean back when when I was into it, it was DC, Marvel, and like there's some indie clicks like Hellboy and stuff, and that was it. And I always thought to myself like two
Yeah.
things that would absolutely fit would be like kaiju, like Godzilla, King Kong, and all that stuff.
Yep.
Especially Godzilla because
Yep.
there's so many different kinds of Godzilla. Like every set could be a different
Yeah.
run of Godzilla or something. But even like there's a lot of anime that I'm like, dude, like do you like Dragon Ball Z or One Piece or something? Dude, like how is that not a
Yeah.
click set? Like that, I feel like that would print money.
The
Like,
hell is it not?
anyway,
Speaking of Godzilla, they're talking about doing Godzilla -0 2.
yeah,
So there is a sequel in the works. It's supposed to
I
be out 2026,
dude,
2027.
-1 was
I'm on
incredible.
board.
Yeah, -1 was incredible.
-1 was incredible. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. There's even talks that apparently they have greenlit a Shin Godzilla 2. I don't know where you're going to go with that one. It
Uh,
ended really weird. All
yeah,
I can say is go back and watch the last like 30 seconds of the Shin Godzilla movie,
where his tail starts
and
mutating.
his tail starts mutating into what look like venom and
People, yeah, look like
carnage,
people.
like humanoid-looking creatures.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I'm like,
what was that guy's name that did that? Because he did Neon Invent or he did Evangelion. All
Evangelion.
the yeah.
Yeah,
And he has like kind of very like out there Hideki Anno. He did all that,
yeah,
and his movies always have
yeah,
he did Akira too, I think. And
yeah.
they
He
always
did
have
Killer
like
Wave.
very weird like cosmic body horror style. I think where he was going
Yeah,
is like because Godzilla. The whole thing about Shin Godzilla was him transforming and like becoming a new life
yeah,
form. Like he started as a larva, went up, went up, went up. I think the next thing he was going to transform into like his next transformation was going to hatch like a new race of something on Earth. And
race
like
of beings. Yeah,
yeah, I mean that
yeah,
that movie was. I mean, I know a lot of people think Shin Godzilla is just too out there and too different. It I thought it was awesome. It was just so cool. It was
yeah,
such a different take on a kaiju movie.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it was. And it was
yeah,
great. I mean, it was a great movie. You turned me on to that. I didn't even know it existed, and I found it, watched it. I'm like, holy crap, this
yeah,
is a great
dude,
movie.
it was awesome.
But that last 30 seconds, I'm like, holy crap, there's got to be a sequel. Oh no, this movie's 10 years old,
Well, I mean,
and there is no sequel. But
he filmed. I mean, he
now
filmed
it's
it
in the movie.
when he filmed it. It was like 3.5 hours long, and they were like, "Dude, we can't release this." So
Yeah,
he had to cut it down like way down, and I think it went a lot
I
further
think
than
it's still
that.
2 hours and 15
It
minutes,
it's
but I mean,
still
it's a
long.
great
Yeah,
movie.
it's still long, and he had
It's
to.
still a, it's still a great movie.
It's cool. It's definitely it's a different take on kind of a kaiju movie, and I think it kind of goes somewhere that other movies are scared to go. So
I think that's all I've got for my show notes. Did you have anything else, Apprentice?
I don't think so. Anything else you want to go over or talk about?
Not nothing on the radar right now. Things are kind of quiet. The wife is off at East Coast USA. My wife is a beauty pageant contestant, so she's in New York, New Jersey right now doing that. So I am left without adult supervision. So I'm trying to stay out of trouble. But other than that, I don't really have much. I'm trying to find a copy of Daggerheart.
Mm.
I've decided, you know what, I'm not, not a big fan of the hope and fear dice thing. But the problem is I love different types of TTRPGs, and there has been so much hoopla around this game. And the problem is, if you go on YouTube and you look up a video Daggerheart review, you're going to get one of two things. It's either going to be the fanboys who are critters, or people who act like shills and they're just talking about how great the game is and they've never played it. So I don't know how you know how great the game is if you haven't actually sat down and played it. Then
Mm-hmm.
there are people who are just crapping all over it. They don't like it. It's a dumb game. It's too woke. Blah 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 blah. It just they're on the other side of it, and it's like, okay, well, I'm getting the negatives, I'm getting the positives. Where's the actual true review? Where has somebody sat down with their game table, with their players, played 2 or 3 sessions, run through, and then sat down and talked about it? What works, what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
What's worth keeping, what would have to be homebrewed and changed. So I'm going to try to pick up a copy at some point whenever they're back in stock, because nobody has them in stock right now. Two local game stores are out. They're on back order. Amazon, you could get it on Amazon for $65. I'm not paying $65 for a $50 game book. Somebody else is trying to sell it for 100. So I'm going to wait until it comes out and I can find it on the game book shelf in a game store, and I'm going to pick it up and read through it and kind of see what I like and don't like about it, because I'm a firm believer I can take any game and find something in it I like that I can bring to my own table and introduce it to enhance my player's experience. So I'm willing to check it out and maybe give a review down the road on it here somewhere. But
Mm-hmm.
that's all I've got for this week. Not as long as our first one, but these will kind of fluctuate time wise as we decide what we have to
Yeah.
talk about, what we don't have to talk about. So
Yeah.
yeah. Any questions? You got any questions you want to throw my way?
I mean, I can definitely think of a few.
We got time. We're only up about an hour, so we got time.
What is your favorite ranged weapon in Dungeons and Dragons? You can get now. You can go anywhere from very particular or just a kind of range, like a crossbow, or be like actually this one exact weapon.
So, I'm a big fan of bows. That probably goes back to, watching like Earl Flynn's Robin Hood as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
watching the Lord of the Rings movies with Legolas and his bow. So I'm a big fan of the bows. If I had to pick one that's my favorite, I loved the D. Everybody craps on it, but I like the D&D cartoon series from the '80s.
Mm-hmm.
I know it only lasted a season and then they canceled it. But I like Hank's bow, and they actually D&D and WoTC put out a supplement where you can go back and now play as the children, and it's years down the road, 10, 12 years down the road, they're now adults. So you've got the Rangers Hank's bow in there with the electric arrows. That's always just fascinated me aesthetically, just watching it. See, no bowstring, he just draws it back, a bowstring appears, an arrow appears, and he's basically shooting lightning. That's kind of a neat bow, but I actually like the oath bow in D&D 5e. The oath bow is pretty neat to me, and it can be done to aesthetically match whatever ranger or whatever gets it. So I think that's kind of a neat thing. But that would be my favorite ranged weapon, unless I'm playing a dwarf. If I'm playing a dwarf, heavy crossbow
Yeah.
every single time. Heavy crossbow, because of the damage it does and the range it has.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else?
That was kind of the only random one I thought of. I mean, I could go on forever. I don't want to keep going, but
Okay. Well, we'll call it here for the night. We would like to thank you all for tuning in. We would like you to do us a big favor and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you would, share the link with your friends. Let them know about us over here. We'd love to have more people subscribe, watch the videos, and by all means, give us some feedback down in the comments. What do you like? What
mm-hmm.
do you not like? What can we do better? What would you like to see us talk about? If it's something that we're interested in, we'll definitely work it into our show notes and our schedules. But just let us know how we're doing and let us know what you think of the show. And let us know you're out there. We would definitely like to hear from each and every one of you. But
Yep.
we'll end there for the night. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend and keep your sword arm free and keep those torches lit because the maze is dark and dangerous.
Yes,
Good night,
sir.
everybody.
Bye, guys.